what she said.
This meeting is now in session. Well, hey there, I'm Bill Price. I'm a state trooper and mayor of O'Neill. Now, you may not realize it, but description is an important part of my job. I have to use writing in many parts of what I do, from writing accident reports as a trooper to reading city ordinances as a mayor. Description writing takes you to that moment and place which the writer is describing. You can see, hear, taste, and feel everything within that moment. A good description makes the reader feel as if they're right there alongside of you. Today, I'm going to teach you about Chapter 6, Description of Presenting Impressions. To start off, we will look at a writing that uses description. Can you guess what they are describing?
The sound of the hot dog sizzling on a grease-spattered grill gave way to the whirling buzz of a cotton candy machine. Fascinated, we watched as the white cardboard cone was slowly transformed in a pink, fluffy cloud. Despite their fiberglass appearance, the sticky puffs dissolved on my tongue into a sugar-like sweetness. Soon, our faces and hands were gumming with a sticky mess. In this example, you are transported to the county fair. You can hear the sizzle of hot dogs being cooked. You can see the cotton candy being formed before you eat it all up. You can taste the cotton candy as it dissolves on your tongue. All this talk about food is making me hungry, though. Effective description creates sharply etched words, pictures of objects, persons, scenes, events, or situations. The backbone to description writing is the 5 main sensories: reflecting sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch. It is important to learn how to properly write description because you could possibly use it in every part of your everyday life. The next part of descriptive writing is sensory impressions. Sensory impressions begin with a close physical or mental observation. If you can re-examine your subject, do it. If you can't recall it to mind, then capture it with the appropriate words. They say using comparisons will help the reader relate and think of something close to it, but it must be accurate and familiar. The reader won't know what you are talking about if they never experienced it. To help you better understand this part of descriptive writing, let's look at an example. It was a coppery fire at first, the orange streaked with aquamarine, but rapidly the firmament expanded into an explosion of red and orange rain that burst across the sky, sending tongues of flame through the feathery clouds to the very limits of heaven.
As we take a look at this passage, we can visualize the western sky fill with a coppery fire, which then transforms into an explosion of red and orange, and sends tongues of flames heavenward. This description helps us visualize what the writer is writing about in the unfamiliar landscape of Africa. Even though we have never been there, we can see it through his words. But in most descriptions, you blend all 5 of the sense impressions rather than just focusing on one.
As we move forward, we take a look at dominant impression. Dominant impression is what writers use to create an overall mood or feeling such as joy, anger, terror, or distaste. For example, Stephen King evokes the feeling of fear all throughout his novels. It is what made him famous. Dominant writing, you are able to instill the emotion into the reader, whatever that emotion may be.
Now, let's keep on booking through this chapter. When writing description, you can write from a vantage point. A vantage point is where something can be viewed. There are 2 different types of vantage points where you can write from, either fixed or moving. A fixed point is when the writer/observer remains in one place, only what can be perceived through there. A moving vantage point is when the writer is on the move and talks about what they see as they're moving. For example, in my job, I'm going to describe a moving vantage point. Here's an example to help you out. The Black Cavalier was headed westbound on Douglas Street, accelerating at speeds over 100 miles per hour. The Black Cavalier then swung right, almost hitting 3 pedestrians. While insuring the vehicle, I saw the vehicle was swerving back and forth, indicating I was dealing with a drunk driver. The moving observer views these things from a number of positions, signaling changes in a location with phrases such as turning the corner and swung right, with the observer being moi. When writing in a moving observer, you read about many number of locations as a person may travel, walk around a city.
As we continue to move on through this chapter, we come to the selection of details. In effective description, it depends as much on exclusion as on inclusion. Don't try to jam every possible detail into your writing. Use only the details in which are important in creating an image or mood you are trying to portray. Just like any other writing, description must have a clear pattern of organization to guide the reader and to help get across their purpose. Use the best form of organization for you. It could be from top to bottom, left to right, front to back. Whatever you decide is best for your audience to understand. For example, if you're describing your bedroom, you may want to start with what is closest to the door and then move outward. Whatever works for you. Using description, you also come across ethical issues. For example, imagine you just booked your dream vacation and are staying at a supposed 5-star hotel with a gorgeous giant swimming pool. When you arrive, you realize to your disappointment and horror what the hotel described as a monster swimming pool is a small, dirty pool ending up looking like this. Inaccurate descriptions can create a wide range of undesirable consequences. When writing something, ask yourself these questions. As we move on to writing a description and choosing a topic, you want to choose one that is familiar to you. You aren't going to go into something that you have no idea how to describe. Ask yourself simple questions like these to help get you started. As you are writing your description, you want to gather and organize your details. You want to present your ideas in an order you have mapped out. Make sure your reader is able to follow your thoughts clearly and make sure your writing is able to flow. To help you keep organized with your sensory details, you can create a branching. Just like you were taught in grade school, you want to begin your paper with an introduction that captures their attention. Then develop each major thought into a paragraph. It is important to revise to check your paper for errors and such. When revising your paper, you want to ask yourself questions like these. As you can see here, we have a review of what we all learned today. Now let's talk about some discussion questions. What is the reader describing? What sensories are they using? How do they organize their writing?
Well, folks, I hope I helped you out today in learning more about descriptive writing. And remember to always wear your seatbelts and don't speed, because I'll be on the roads. All right, meeting's adjourned.